With a few days left in this window, Man United are going to make some decisions in the transfer market very soon because they have to. Look, at the moment, Zirkzee, there looks like, as we spoke about, Serie A teams making movement on Zirkzee. And what does that mean? Fiorentina have come in overnight and are looking at Zirkzee. They've made an offer for Zirkzee, and we'll get into what that offer is as well. Juventus still likes the players. Now, look, they are pushing Zirkzee. I think will happily go to Fiorentina. I think he'll happily go to Juventus. But it's whether or not we can do a deal and get that deal done for these players. Look, if Zirkzee does go, then look, Mateta has been offered to United. Aston Villa are there, so United are going to have to move very quickly. If they don't, these are Fabrizio Romano's words. Look, if a concrete possibility, look, if Zirkzee does move, and there are a couple of days left in this window, we'll have to move fast. Look, Aston Villa, Abraham has just gone on loan to an Ipswich, even though Jackson looks like he could be going in there. Aston Villa are going to need another striker, so we're going to see what is going to go on there. And look, we're going to talk again. We'll talk about Mateta, what I think he's perfect in terms of the last 3 seasons, his goals. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Antonee, Robertson as well of Fulham. There's talk today of that as well. Camavinga has been mentioned as a left back, so we will go on to that as well. Salinas, of course. And of course, it is Champions League draw day. It is the Champions League draw day. So look, please get in there with your views and opinions. I promise you I will get into the chat as well. I'll get into all of that good stuff as well. So where are we today? So breaking news overnight, the last hour, also that Fiorentina have made a move for Zirkzee. Now, as we said, look, the important thing to me here is that, look, we do start to sort of look to move these players on. Now, look, get in there with your views and opinions on Zirkzee. Look, the number one thing I'm going to say on Zirkzee is this. Look, I think it's sad. Look, I know many people. The interesting thing about this community is that a lot of people do like Zirkzee. I like Zirkzee. I like the profile of player. It hasn't worked out for Zirkzee in this club, but there are a lot of people that still do that. Now, look, there is no point for argument's sake is to keep Zirkzee at this club if we're not going to use the player. Now, what is the offer? Now, the offer at the moment is £5 million of a loan fee deal with basically an obligation to buy. Now, how this looks, United, want £40 million. Whether or not we can structure a deal like a Højlund, for me, that's perfectly acceptable to be able to do that sort of deal. Look, we've got to move on. We've got to push on from these players. We've got to move on, or we've got to look at the next. Who's next? Who is going to come in to the club next? And look, we've got 3 days to do it. We've got 4 days to do it. So we're going to have to push hard. Look, I will get into the comments as well. Before I do, please get in there. I really want to read what you think about this potential deal. Now, look, again, we spoke about this, our inability to sell players, our inability to sell young players. Zirkzee, 25, 26 years old. Look, he is not over the hill. He's coming into his prime. And look, for me, Aston Villa were looking at Zirkzee as well. But I think there's something fundamentally not broken. But is there an issue with our players? Is there some sort of issue that they don't want our players? There was a very good argument that I saw that's saying that we don't buy the right players to sell. Look, Delap, Chelsea, I don't think that he was the right player, but guess what? They managed to get their money. Garnacho, you can argue that as well. So look, Zirkzee for me, look, when he came into this club, I'm gonna look, the one thing I absolutely fundamentally respect about him is he's not created a fuss. I think he'd be more than willing to stay here to fight for his place as well. He's never done anything, in my view and opinion, that you would say, look, he's going to go and, the player's not right. I like Zirkzee. I think the good thing about Zirkzee If he goes to a Fiorentina, I think that they buy him. I do. I think if there's an obligation to buy, I think that's pretty much safe to say that he would do that. If not, Juventus are there as well. Could we get a little bit of a bidding more? Juventus like the play, but however, with Juventus, that does rely on David going as well. So Fiorentina at the moment are the ones who are leading this race. 5 million loan fee with an obligation to buy. Now, look, they would be getting, I think, a very respectful, I think a very, very skillful player who would absolutely fit in really, really well at Juventus or Fiorentina. So I think they are, and they would be getting an absolute fantastic player there as well. So look, there is a meeting arranged for this evening, tomorrow, and they're going to, I think they're going to what to do, and I think that we you could probably see a Zirkzee here we go tomorrow. So I do think it is going to be that quick. Now Mateta, I wanted to again loop in Mateta. The last couple of shows have been about that. Now please get in again with your views and opinions on Mateta. Do you think we should be going for another striker? You tell me another striker's name that you think that we could go for in this window. I would love to know about that. So Mateta for me, look, I bang on about Mateta all of the time. Why do I bang on about Mateta? For what we want to do, I think we want to make sure we give a pathway to Šeško. Let's give Šeško a pathway. I think that is important. That is the number one choice. But what you get with Mateta, and I know some people are not his biggest fan, and guys, please give the video a like as well. It does really help the channel, so please get in there, give the video a massive like. It helps us out, and it pushes the content out there. What I really like about the Mateta possible deal is he's got 1 year left on his contract. He's 29. I think that's a perfect age for that type of striker. He doesn't rely on pace. He's 6'4". He's a penalty box striker. And I think what fundamentally that he will do for us is he'll help us break a low block. I think Šeško eventually will. I think Šeško, his ceiling is higher. I think Šeško is going to have this amazing ability to pace, power, height when he gets more acclimatized. But what Mateta will do, Mateta will give Šeško the ability to be able to do that. I think Šeško will give him, I think Mateta will give Šeško the ability to be able to do that as well. So Mateta for me, 6'4", big tick. Look, he's scored 42 goals across the last 3 seasons. These are 42 Premier League goals. Now look, I know that is less than 15 goals a season, and look, he did score 26 in the last 2 seasons. So I think 25 to 30 million, if you're chipping in with 10 to 15 goals a season, I think in this club, I think he can get 10 to 15. You are adding goals into, and don't forget Champions League. Šeško for me, he's already played in the Champions League. I think he is the perfect Champions League striker for me. And then in the Premier League, when you've then got teams like, and again, this is no disrespect to Hull, by the way. Hull were fantastic. They beat us fair and square, absolutely fantastic. And chat, I promise you, I will get into the chat as well. Look, Mateta, brilliant, for the games like Hull City, when you need a presence in there, when you want somebody who's going to be arms and elbows and dirty. Mateta is that striker. 42 Premier League goals in the last 3 seasons is nothing to be sniffed at either. And at 25 to 30 million pounds, I think he's worth that. 30, go and get this deal done, and you could probably stretch it over 4 years. I think Crystal Palace would be receptive to probably 25 to 30 million. Look, Aston Villa have already had a bid turned down. So Villa are there. Look, we'll talk about where we are and the potential for this deal. Look, this would be a hijack. We would be hijacking this deal. Look, Aston Villa are quite advanced. I think Mateta for Aston Villa would be perfect. Look, I think Jackson is choosing between Atletico Madrid and Aston Villa. They've let Tammy Abraham go to Ipswich on loan, so they are there. Don't forget, they've got the money for the Rodgers deal to do. Now, I think what put teams off is obviously Mateta's got 1 year left on his deal. But what this does do for us, it enables us to be able to try to swoop in there to get this Mateta deal done. And it is a swap. It is a striker swap. It is a plain striker swap. It is you swap Zirkzee, who is, look, he's not Premier League proven. He has played in the Premier League, and you're swapping him for a Premier League proven striker who is probably at the peak of his powers, and you're probably going to get him for less than overall package for a Zirkzee. So for me, Mateta is one that we absolutely have to go for. Look, we have got to get this deal done, and I promise you guys, I will get into the chat as well in a bit. So look, give me your opinion. You know, I'm focusing on Mateta. You guys tell me, do you think that there is a better deal to do here than a Mateta? Do you think that we should go for somebody else? Do you think Antonee? Do you think that that's something that maybe we should look at? I mean, I can't think of another striker who you could bring in with that Premier League experience, because we need somebody who's going to be able to hit the ground as well. So you guys tell me in the chat now, what do you think? Do you think and again, look, I've got to say this as well. Look, I would love to be talking to you today about an Osimhen. You know what he said there in the chat, which I will come down to. Buckola, he's just gone to Liverpool. We should be talking about an Osimhen deal. Garassi as well, yes. I just saw that, and I'll come into the chats as well. So please get in there. Please give the video a like. It does help. And look, the moment one of these streams gets to 100 likes, I'll be giving away a shirt. So it's in your interest to get this video up to 100 likes, and we will smash it out there. So look, get in there with your strikers. I want to know about what you think we should do about the striker situation. Do you think that Zirkzee will go? Where do you think that we should go? So I'm going to get into your chats as well. So please get in there as well, guys. Absolute legends of the show. So Natasha is in the house and says hi. They're saying the big announcements on other streams is to do with some more signings coming in. Look, Natasha, we're going to sign. I think we're going to sign a left back. I think we've got to. I think whatever happens, whether it's Salinas, David Raum. Look, Camavinga's been mentioned as well. So I'll tell you before I get back into the chats as well. Look, Camavinga's been mentioned as well. So Camavinga can play as a left back. So he's been mentioned. Look, I've not seen this from any credible outlets, any credible sources that I would believe that this to be true. Look, Camavinga doesn't want to leave. I don't think we're going to spend 50 to 60 million pounds on a Camavinga for a left back. If Camavinga was fit and you could go and get him, you've got a player that you can use as a left back, a player that you can use as a CDM as well. But that doesn't make sense to me. That absolutely does not make sense to me whatsoever. Anthony Robertson from Fulham has been mentioned as well. Look, I think he had a reasonably good World Cup. But again, when we're looking at financial and we're looking at players, is that a deal that could be done at 100%? Absolutely, it could be done. But Fulham are going to want 40 million pounds, and he's 29. I think Anthony Robertson is now around about 28 to 29 years old. If you're going to do that, go and get a David Raum. A David Raum clause is about 35 million pounds. Go and do a Raum. So I think at the moment, I think names have been thrown out there because look, I think it sells. I think it sells content. I think it sells. So look, I think late in this window, I think Robertson again, unless we could do some sort of cheap loan deal, then absolutely. Truffett, you know, look again. As we're talking, I've just got something in here. Look, Truffett. I think again, don't rule Truffett out. I think that we could make a late approach for him. Look, we are clearly looking at the left back situation. I think we are currently working on that, trying to see what we can do. Look, Salinas again. You know, look. I think, are we moving away from a Salinas deal because he is so young? But we are clearly looking for that experience as well. So So Charlie says paying and not buying, exactly. Marky is in the house. Hello, my friend. Evil JB. Iron Fist is in the result. Zirkzee will only go if we're certain to get Mateta right. No. 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 I think Zirkzee goes. I don't think he goes if we're only certain to get Mateta. If he goes, I think that we will go and get a striker. It doesn't mean to say it is Mateta. Well, I would agree with you. Yes, we will probably let Zirkzee go if we can get another striker, but it may not be Mateta. Just let Zirkzee go to Fiorentina. He's found his best football in Serie A. If Zirkzee goes to Serie A, then we can have a spot for an experienced and decent striker, and I think maybe we has consistency. Vinny Jr. Hello, my friend. Paul got Barcola, so it is embarrassing spending like we're in Poundland. I like that. Mateta says Mateta and Beto patchwork. Red hair says patchwork won't save the sinking ship. What do you think about Garassi? I know he hasn't any Premier League experience, but he was a Champions League experience. I like Garassi. I really like Garassi. I wish we'd have picked him up at the time. I think he was ridiculous price. He was like 10 to 12 million pounds. I would have picked him up. I do think that we did miss a trick there. I think he would have been perfect as well. Yo Switch is in the house. Legend as well. First name, last name says, are we getting a transfer fee for Zirkzee? Also, what is the price of Mateta? So we would be getting an initial loan fee. So his initial loan fee would be £5 million. I don't know the details of the total deal, but I think it would be in and around 30 to 35, not including the 5. So I think we would probably look to do a deal on the Zirkzee round about 40 million total package. So five up front for a loan fee, and then the rest of it if and when he goes. Mateta, look, Crystal Palace have already turned down in the region of £25 million from Aston Villa. They're going to want, I believe they're going to want in the region of about 30 to 35, which I think is probably around about a fair price. I think 32.5 he could go for that. So I do think that that's roughly where we are about that. I don't think we're going to sign anybody better. Of Everton is another thought. I don't know how much he would be though. I think Beto could be a bit expensive. We aren't getting Antonee or another striker than Mateta because their wages are too high. So it says we need 3 more, but I think we'll end up with 1, a left back, centre back, a centre forward, but we'll end up with a lone left back, and that will be it. I reckon. What is the latest info from your source? So look, the latest information that I've got. Obviously, look, we know we walked away from Kone. Look, we are trying to do a Zirkzee deal. Look, the update that I got last night was Fiorentina are pushing for a Zirkzee. United are now looking for a striker. That is what we are doing. Left back is priority. I would take these names to the bank. I would go Salinas, David Raum, Robertson as well. I think is a legitimate one. Truffet as well. So I would look at those. We are looking to do 2 more. We are looking to do more. Time is against us. I would probably bank on a left back. Striker is 1. If we can strike a good deal, then we will do one. Whether if Zirkzee goes, so left back is definitely there. Big up from Rob. Please smash the like button. Exactly, guys. Please hit the like button on the way in. I promise you, it really does help the channel out. If not, I will be sending Ugarte around to your house, and nobody wants Ugarte around there. Do you think we'll sign anybody at this stage, JB? Yes, I do. I do think that we will. I think we are. I think we've got to. I think we absolutely are there. If the owners are too scared to buy expensive players in case they flop, they shouldn't be running a football club. Yes, look, I like that comment. I completely agree with you on that comment as well. If the fire in the kitchen is too hot, then get out of it. Then just get out of it completely. I think the defense, the striker and left back are equally as important. Agree with you. I think our defense needs so much work. I think our defense absolutely needs so much work to it. We need a left back, I'd argue, another right back. We need to get rid of centre backs, and I think that we do need to bring some more in as well. Alex says Bournemouth would ask for money for Truffett. How do people not? And look, Alex the Red, I agree with you. Truffett, I mention him, but I agree with you completely. You know, I think in this fan base, I'll give you an example, Alex, because I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. One of the things I've heard channels say, and one of the things I've heard lots of people say, is we're going to keep our money for Lewis Hall. We're keeping our money next season for a Lewis Hall. I get that, fine. But who's to say that Lewis Hall is going to be available? Who's to say that Lewis Hall is not going to sign a brand new contract? It's almost like this club is indoctrinating a fan base to say, don't worry, we're going to go back in. But how do you know? Look, the football landscape changes so much. Who's to say that Lewis Hall next year is not going to have a phenomenal season and be £100 million? Who's to say that Bayern Munich are not going to come in? The Truffett argument, I think, is absolutely correct as well, because Bournemouth are going to want large amounts of money, and are we going to pay? So look, I do think it's going to be somebody with a release clause. I do think it's going to be somebody who could be a loan. So I do think it is going to be Salinas. I do think it's going to be maybe a Robertson, maybe that sort of player, a David Raum. I mean, if I'm picking now, I would like a David Raum. I think we need somebody to come in and oust Luke Shaw as of now. So that is where I am on that one. I'm not into Mateta. He's slow and not perfect for. And Foster, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Out of those names, Truffett would be the best option. Favel needs to use his Leipzig and Salzburg connections. Lekebu, he'd be a fantastic option as well. Exactly, I don't disagree with you. Ineos and the Glazers should be ashamed of the lack of ambition. Look, John Bell, if you've watched the channel before, my friend, welcome to the channel. Please do not forget to get in there with the likes. Let's get this. Look, let's get up to 100. Let's get the stream up to 50. I agree with you. It is. Look, it's a combination, John. It's a combination of lack of ambition, lack of funds as well. So I don't disagree with you there. Truffett would be 30 to 40. They would not get 70. See what we're saying in here. Done that one. Absolutely no chance Truffett goes that cheap, especially this late in the window. Is Bournemouth we are talking about. And exactly, look, any player, and this is one of the things when we were early on in this window, and you had Omar talking, you had other channels talking, telling you and I to calm down, just to calm down and chill, because there's still time in the window to go. Now, as we all know, you guys are intelligent. You guys know as much about this as me. We all know in a transfer window, unless there is a release clause, players don't get cheaper. Baleba. Now, I'm going to mention Baleba for a second. Look, Baleba didn't get cheaper. £70 million, and you know that I don't prescribe on this channel to wages and fees. You can argue overpayment on players, but I will argue back it is the success that drives how much a player is worth. So if you spend 100 on a player, you win the Champions League, the league he's paid for himself. So, but that's a debate for a different time. So look, so for me, if you leave it later in the window, it's going to get more expensive because the club will then need to go buy a replacement and Truffett. At this point in time, I agree with Alex. His normal value should be what, 30 to 40 million in this market already. I'd probably say he's 50 at this point of the window. I would 100% absolutely say that he is probably in and around 60 to 70 million. Jochen says it would be my choice. Yes, I like Jochen says as well. Look, maybe we could be ambitious and go for that sort of player as well. So I think that is a very legitimate player to go for. I wouldn't go for Salinas. It doesn't even play in the Premier League. He's a prospect. They only sold Kirkes for 45, and no way they get more for traffic. So look, guys, get in there with your views and opinions. Do not forget to like the video. I promise you it really does help us out. Now look, today is Champions League day. I mean, look, how amazing. Look, how we can talk about, look, let's talk about this for a second. Whether or not we are all in agreement, you know, for this season, whether or not we talk about and we debate out whether or not we can do the league, the Champions League as well. Look, we're talking at the back end of the window about getting a Mateta, about selling a Zirkzee. We can talk about our transfer window. But we're in the Champions League, and it is the Champions League draw today at 5 o'clock today. It is the Champions League draw, and guess what? We're in it. I mean, how? I can't wait. I can't wait. I think it's the week after next. We're going to hear the Champions League theme song. That is what we're going to hear. Look, I'll get in there with your views and opinions on this. Look, I can't wait to hear the Champions League song playing. I mean, how amazing is it going to be? So look, we'll go through that, and I just wanted to look, I know there's so much negativity on this channel. I try not to do toxic positivity or go the other way as well. Look, I am excited whether or not we're in the Champions League after the league phase, but at the moment we are in the Champions League, and I can't wait. I can't wait to talk to you tonight about the Champions League spots. We are back in the promised land, and we've got to get in here next season as well. So look, let's talk about the pot. So the Champions League draw that we're in, I can't stop smiling. I think it's fantastic. The 26-27 league draw is today at 5 p.m. So look, these are the pots. So pot 1 is PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Inter Milan, Man City, Arsenal, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. Now we can't get any of those English teams, which is a good thing. So they are excluded. Pot 2 is Dortmund, Roma, Sporting, Aston Villa, Porto, us, Club Brugge, Betis, and PSV. Pot 3, Feyenoord, Lille, Bodo Glimt, Napoli, RB Leipzig, Villarreal, Fenerbahce, Shakhtar Donetsk, Galatasaray. Pot 4, Slavia Prague, Slavan Bratislava, Stuttgart, AAK Athens, LASK, Como, Lens, Viking, and Sabah. So look, I'll go through the permutation. So how it works. So you go into your league. Okay. So how it works is we will have 8 different opponents. So we'll have two from pot 1, 2 from pot 2, 2 from pot 3, and 2 for pot 4. So we will get drawn against 2 from pot 1. So we know we can't get Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and then 2 from pot 2, except for Aston Villa. Now, who can we get from pot 1? So from pot 1 we can get PSG, Bayern Munich, Madrid, Inter Milan, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid. Pot 2 we can get Dortmund, Roma, Sporting, Porto, Club Brugge, Betis, and PSV. Pot 3 we can get them all. Pot 4 we can get them all as well. So in terms of a dream draw, and you guys let me know, get in there as well, because I'd love to know. I would love to know what you think, and I will get in there with the comments as well in a second. So please get in there. Please get in there with your likes. Get in there with your views and opinions into this amazing community, into this amazing channel driven by you guys. So my dream draw would be Atletico Madrid, Inter Milan, Club Brugge, PSG, Bodo Glimt, but those are a good side. Shakhtar, Bratislava, and Sabha. So those that for me, looking at the list of teams that we could get. Now imagine. Now I want you to bear this in mind. We're talking about left back. We're talking about centre backs. This for me would be probably the worst group that we could get. Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund. No, that actually doesn't work because Dortmund. No, that's wrong. But again, we could get, we could get the likes of Madrid, a Bayern, Roma could be in there, RB Leipzig in there, Stuttgart, a Como. We could get, Madrid. We could get a Bayern Munich. And when we're talking about doing the two things, the league this season, and we are talking about the Champions League as well this season, look, it is fundamentally important that what we do now is, and AC Milan are in the Europa League, I believe as well. So look, get in. I want to know your opinions about the champ. Look, we can talk about Champions League. I mean, look, we can talk about Champions League. So I want to know your views and opinions about Champions League. Do you want the best? But this is where I'm at on the pot. You've got your dream draw and you've got your worst case. Look, I want to play Bayern Munich. I want to play Madrid. I want to play a Barcelona. I want these teams, because what is the point of being in this Champions League if all you're going to do is cower away and hide away? I want to go to Bayern. I want to go to the Bernabeu on a Wednesday night. Would you rather go to the Bernabeu on a Wednesday, or would you rather go to some? And this is no disrespect to a Romanian team on a plastic pitch on a Thursday night. This is what dreams are made of. This is what this is made of, and this is the promised land. This is why we are here. This is what the Champions League is all about. And I cannot wait for this draw to happen. I want us to be in there. So look, guys, get in there. I'm going to read your comments as well. And look, before I get into it as well, look, I know we are not the same side that we were the last time we were in the Champions League. I know we're not the same side that we were from the past. But look, this is what I want. This is what we should be aiming for. Look, Rio Ferdinand, his comments, look, there were parts of it that I agreed with, parts that I didn't agree with it. And one of the biggest parts that I did not agree with him was this. Yes, and I agree, we absolutely fundamentally know who we are and where we should be. But 100%, these are the nights that we need to learn from. Imagine you've got a situation whereby you've got Shea Lacey going to the Bernabeu, Shea Lacey going to the Nou Camp, Shea Lacey going to these clubs, and people seeing Shea Lacey for the first time, going, who is this guy? Are showing off our young players as well. And this is what I want to see. I want to see, and also we're talking about selling players. What's one of the best advertisements that you could possibly make? That would be within the Champions League. Your bit part players. Imagine those bit part players going into the Champions League as well. So look, guys, please get in there. I'm going to read some more of your comments and your views as well. Look, please get in there with the likes. Give the video a like. I promise you, it helps the channel out so much. And the first time one of these videos gets to 100 likes, I will be giving away a shirt. So as I always say, it's in your interest. The more people support the channel, the more things that I can do. So please get in there as well. You absolute legend. So look, let's get in there. This is your channel. As I say, I will read the chats as well. So I'm going to go through the chats for this part of the show as well. So look, it doesn't matter if the player is expensive. It matters how good the player is and how good the player fits the playing style of the manager. The reason why we don't spend big is because of the owners. I like that comment. I can't believe how United missed out on Jorge. I'm not the biggest fan of Jorge. I've got to be fair here. I still can't believe we paid 50 for Andre Santos. Look, I think Andre Santos, look, I understand why we did it, but time will tell. Time will tell to see how good that would be. Jorge is trash at defending. Bayern and Inter from pot one, exactly. I'm excited and afraid for United at the same time. I'm so excited. I can't even tell you how I'm excited. Look, Hull City was crap. Look, Ipswich. Look, I think that we can beat, and I think that we will. And then we've got We've got Champions League people. I mean, what more could you want? Champions League is amazing. I'm done that one. Jeff is very good. Seen him quite a few times last season. Always impressive defensively and attacking. Um, Look, sadly, we were never going to spend that sort of money. I think he's gone to Brentford, hasn't he? We're going to be out at the group phase, says John. Look, John, maybe, John. Look, maybe, John, we will go out at the group phase. But I've got a sneaking suspicion that we're going to be quite a good Champions League side. We've been a very, very good cup side. And the one reason I say that is we've got the ultimate light switch players. I think these players would go to a Barcelona and they'd put on a worldie, and then the next week they'd then go to Hull City and they'd get beat again. So I think we've almost got a very good side, a very good app side for these cup games. Where I think we get obliterated is I think we get obliterated in defence. Can you imagine week game one? Real Madrid, Mbappe versus Luke Shaw. Forget it. Forget about it. First name, I've done that one. Background looks good. Thank you. Look, I've tried to look this channel. Hopefully is hopefully becoming a little bit more professional. I should have transitioned that as well, so the screen should be back on time as well. Done that one. Thank you. Hard to find balance between doom and gloom and toxic. I appreciate that. Says look, Alex the Red. That is look on this channel, buddy. I'll always give you time. Look, I do have my own personal opinions. Of course I do. This channel, I will always have my personal preference on views. But the one thing about this channel, this is your channel. This is 100% yours. And guys, please don't forget to give the video a like. Please please subscribe to the channel as well. It does help us out and it does push us out there as well. Brentford is going to be a problem to face in the EPL. Yes. KO'd right back next season to replace Dallo or Maz. I like that. I do. I actually think Fred was better. He's agile, could dribble, and did some good things. Evil JB's in the house. JB, what would your reaction be if we finish third again and we do decent in the Champions League? Look, the thing is, my reaction would be that is a successful season. Look, the ultimate successful season for me. Let's not pretend, because I'd be a liar. Winning the Premier League, Champions League final, winning the Champions League. That's not going to happen. We have got to, and we've all collectively got to hold our hands here. We've all got to collectively pull together. We've got to get into the Champions League every single season. And the reason we've got to do it is because we've got to get the money in. We have got to force these owners to spend the money. We need the Champions League. So look, worst case scenario, we need the Champions League. Europa League, again, is not great. But look, if we want to buy these players, then we've got to get into the Champions League. Look, my prediction for this season is I think, and I want us to finish top 4, and I think that we can go on a decent Champions League campaign. I think that we can get out of the group stage, and then look, do we do a League Cup? Do we do an FA Cup? That is what the natural progression should be. If Ineos are looking to be judged this season, our next progression is, okay, fine, you can tail off a bit in the league to 4th. Champions League is going to be difficult. We get out of the group stage there, and you win a cup. As long as we're in European competition, ideally the Champions League, we've got to consolidate, and then we've got to push forward. So Gregory's in the house. Is Mateta more of a Cunha type than a striker? No, I think he's a striker. I think he's a striker. For me, we're in pot 2, so as AC Milan, they're not there. I guess only time will tell. We've only seen Santos in pre-season and 1 game a week, but your early assessment might end up being correct. Then AC Milan is in the Europa League, exactly that. Yes, I want us to win the Champions League. I'm going to bet on it. but we're not the same club as 15 to 20 years ago. We aren't that big now. Now, look, John. Again, look, John. I like comments where it leaves us talk about it, right? Look, John. One of the Rio Ferdinand comments that I saw, which kind of annoyed me, and I'm not saying that your comment annoys me, but what it is, we get told that we're not the same club that we were. Okay, I get that. Rio Ferdinand is saying that we need to reduce our expectations because again we're not the same club. My counter argument to that is going to be this. Okay, we're not the same club on the pitch. We make more money than we've ever made. Yes, we do have a lot more debt, but we've made more money than we've made. Commercially, we're stronger. The deals we do are stronger. Everything in terms of the club, everything in terms of the revenue size, the fan base size, the shirt sales, everything is bigger. So in one breath, our club shouldn't be seen as a bigger club, but in the next breath, everything is bigger. The fact we've still got equal amount of fans. Shirt sales are through the roof. The season tickets, you've got to be on a list. Commercial rights are huge. We make more money. So from a powerhouse business club, we are the biggest we've ever been, but yet we're not as big as we were. Make that make sense? We are. But what this club is trying to do is trying to lower your expectation on the pitch. I'd rather have a mix of good and bad teams. We are to this day the red giant that are waking up. Hopefully we are. Whichever Champions League group that we're in, it will not be easy to get through the season and the next round. I agree with you. Eddie says, meanwhile, the Dippers are spending 100 on Barcola. Liverpool, yeah, they've dropped 100 guaranteed up front, and I think the total deal is going to be about 140. I want us to do something scouting from this Champions League. Hopefully we'll draw Sporting Lisbon, Leipzig, Porto, Atletico, Dortmund, Lille. Yeah. But again, I want us to play. I want us to play somebody big as well. So look, guys, get this stream up. Look, 46 likes. Get it up to 100, and somebody is going to get a shirt. And if it does get up to 100, I might even give away 2 shirts. So it's in your interest to get this video up to 100 likes, and I'll give away 2 shirts of your choosing as well, by the way. Barcola instantly best left winger in the league. Avoid Dortmund signings. Sancho alone, exactly. Mkhitaryan and Kagawa 2. 100 likes, then JB, I will pull it out. Santos has been one of our best players so far. What are people talking about? And Charlie, look, what I've said on this channel is I like Santos. I like how Santos has been. I do. I like Santos has been consistent. Don't get me wrong. Santos still has a lot to learn, but I like Santos, and I agree with you. Look, I've not heard anybody say anything negative about Santos. Santos at the moment suffers, I think, from a lack of experience. But I like the signing. I do. I really do. Barcola is overrated. He's doomed. I'm so happy for the Champions League. Exactly. Luke family sure needs the backup left back. I want a left back, a right back, and a striker. We will win a major trophy this season. I hope so, my friend. Thoughts on the Brighton? Oh, yeah. So, United have drawn Brighton in the Carabao Cup. Bring it on. Bring it on. Bring it on. My thoughts are, let's go beat them. I want revenge this season. Look, we finished 3rd last season. I want revenge. I think that we can beat them. Our bogey player in a Welbeck has now gone. I think Brighton, we're not going to underestimate them this year, but we're going to beat them. We're going to beat them this year. I'm confident. We're going to beat them, he says. We'll win a major trophy. I reckon this season we'll get top 5. Blinking hope not. Done that. I'm going to get back into it as well. And guys, please get in there with your comments as well, views and opinions as well. I will read them out. I will go through them as well. done that one. Thank you, Mark, Andrew, Paul. Yeah, the studio. I've spent a little bit of time on the studio, ramping it up. Trying to get this amazing community and channel out there as well. I reckon this season we've done that one. Jamie Carragher is facing bankruptcy because he's not paying his taxes. Good, then he should pay his taxes. After Milan and Hull, we will be lucky to finish fifth to eighth. Our team do not look trained compared to the rest. It's a bit shocking. Lajali, I think that is one of my concerns. I look. I said it after the second half of Leeds. I said it after the second half of PSG, AC Milan, and Hull City. Look, unless this team sorts its mentality out, I don't see. Um, I don't see positivity. But look, it's one game, Charlie. Hopefully, Michael Carrick can fix it. Let's see. Young says we need to start winning competitions while going to get back into the top four. Pay off the massive debt. Exactly that. People saying reduce our expectations are enemies. Look, I don't think we should do. We should absolutely not reduce our expectations at all. Try to avoid paying taxes. Exactly. 2 shirts, hit the like button, exactly, get the stream up to 100 likes, and I will give away 2 shirts. 3 shirts, 3 shirts fanned must be mugs. I have 2. I'm buying 2 more whilst players lord out. But look, yeah, look again. Look, that's how the club makes his money. Maybe be avoiding to go. Maybe he avoided to go bankrupt. Sometimes it works out better. Exactly. United co-owner Avram Grant has pulled his massive 1.8 billion bid. Interesting. So he's pulled his massive 1.8 billion bid for the Champions League role. This get his arse out. So that was it means he has thrown. That is crazy, Charlie. That is crazy. I knew that I knew that they were going to invest in the cricket team. Has he thrown 1.8 billion pounds of his own money into a cricket team? That is disgraceful, Charlie. That is absolutely disgraceful. Look, I mean that is something to bring into a show as well. It is disgusting. I have set a target of League Cup plus an FA Cup, UEFA Champions League. That will go a long way to helping making the proper signings. 100%. Actually, he looks bored in this picture. The players, especially Bruno, players like Bruno lacked enthusiasm. The money he gets paid. Look, again, one of the things I'll say about like the whole game. Look, hopefully, the whole game was a blip. From what I saw with Bruno Fernandes, look, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for a single game. But look, Mike, if you've watched this channel, my thoughts on Bruno Fernandes over the last couple of seasons, look, he's. I'm sure I'll get into it again. Look, he needs to buck his ideas up, and he needs to buck his ideas up fast. What's the update on Mateta? So the update on Mateta is this. Look, Aston Villa have submitted a £25 million bid that is being rejected offhand by Aston Villa. He's been offered to United. United like the player. Look, I expect Zirkzee to move to Fiorentina. Juventus could try to sneak in there as well, but I think Fiorentina is where he's going to go. £5 million loan fee. Look, we should be selling these players, but look, that's fine. And then Mateta. I think if Mateta is still on the market, or if we are about and the deal is agreed, I think we've got to move very, very fast. It wouldn't surprise me tomorrow, Mateta goes to Aston Villa just as much as equally as it wouldn't surprise me if we hear that Mateta has come to United as well. We are chic. We are terrible at selling as well. And look, I think that information that's in there, that apparently Avram Grant is going to invest 1.8 billion pounds of his own money into a cricket team rather than invest it into this club. I think it's an utter disgrace, and it is a sheer. It's just. It's just abysmal. It's absolutely disgusting. Zirkzee is a baller. One-touch football is his speciality, but with Bruno in the 10, it's hard for him to get games, and Carrick doesn't trust him. I think that's a very fair assessment. I really, really do. I really, really do. I think we should play younger players in the League Cup and FA Cup. We're not desperate to win those cups. We have a thin squad, and we should focus on the Prem and the Champions League. I agree with you. Look, we should get back to what we used to do. You play a blend of youth. You play Armour. You play Lacey. Cheeto, I don't think is going to get into the side. You play a Gabriel as well, and then again, you can play Santos in there. You can play Kobe Mainu in there because you've then still got Belabor to come in. You can use it as a fitness tool as well. You can give playing time, and this is why being in these cup games are so important, because it gives players playing time to be able to prove themselves to get into the main team as well. Avram Glazer buying the Indian team, smoke and mirrors. The borrowed money. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna look into it more. I'm gonna look into that more, because one of my fears was he was going to hedge the money against the club. So I will look into that more. Of course, we are desperate to win these cups, not like we are winning the Prem or the Champions League anytime soon. And look, and again, it is sad. It is sad to say. Look, I would love to basically sit here and tell you I'm super confident about winning the Champions League. The league, I would love to. I still think we've got to hold the club accountable to that. I still think we've got to judge a season by how far away we are from the top two from winning a league as well. I think that's very, very, very important. But look, we are not going for Says from Club Brews or Truffet. The Glazers only pay up for pure profits, then they'll leech from the organisation until it runs dry, and then they'll sell and move on. Well, look, the stadium, I think the stadium is going to play a major part in this as well. So we'll see on that one. But look, guys, on that note, I am going to go. Look, fantastic show. Look, hopefully next show, look, we're up to 56 likes. Look, we're only 44 likes away from getting it up to 100 likes. The moment we get 100 likes, I'll give away 2 shirts. And then when we get to 70,000, some more shirts, 80,000. So look, the bigger this channel gets, the more that I can do. And look, do not forget, this channel does not exist without you guys either. The Glazers only pay up for we've done that one. We need Sheikh Jazim to come back and buy us. Look, I'm going to say this just before I go, is don't rule out sale. I've been saying this for quite some time. Don't rule out sale. Look, have no illusions. This club is up for sale. The moment Greg, don't even get me started. I can't stand the new stadium. The new stadium is awful. I can't stand it. This club is up for sale. This club has never been up for sale. Anybody that comes in and basically, I'll come on to that. The reason why this club hasn't been sold is because nobody has come in and offered the right cash. So look, this club is up for sale as well. Look, the reason I don't like the stadium, and I'll give you I'll explain. The reason I personally don't like the stadium, if you do, perfectly fine with me, no issues whatsoever at all. The reason for me is because it represents what the Glazers have done to this club. They have not looked after the stadium. They have basically let our home go to rack and ruin. They have allowed our home to be destroyed to such a degree that we're going to have to knock it down. The caveat to that would be is if the Glazers looked after this club, if the Glazers had looked after the club and said, look, as a thank you to the fan base, we need to build a bigger stadium. If you guys want to be bigger, if you fans want, you know, the best players, then we've got to do something. From that perspective, if that was explained and the Glazers had at least paid off the debt and the Glazers had looked after the club, as much as I wouldn't want to move home, I would understand why. The reason why we've got to move is basically because of greed. So for me, the reason I don't like the stadium is not necessarily the aesthetics, it is what it represents. It represents what these Glazers have done, and it just represents greed to me, and that is my own personal opinion as well. There's a bigger chance the Glazers do go than Ineos. Yes, we need both gone. I really understand what people have against the new Trafford. I reckon after the stadium, the Glazers will sure sell at least £8 to £10 billion in their pocket. Exactly that. Exactly. But look, guys, on that note, I am going to go. Fantastic show. Thank you to everybody in the chat as well. Look, thank you for the likes. Thank you for the chats. Look, the thing. What makes this channel is you guys. This channel is driven by your comments, driven by your views and opinions. And look, we don't always have to agree. I prefer it if we don't, because it means that we talk about different stuff as well. So look, if anything does break, I will come back on. Hopefully we're going to see a Zirkzee. Here we go, closely followed by a Mateta, maybe a left back first as well. So look, let's see. It is next couple of days we're going to see some movement as well. I think it's to move forward but bring part of the old stadium into the new stadium. I think the Glazers will leave before the stadium is built, and from what I've heard, the stadium will be called Old Trafford. Well, let's see, Charlie. And look, I do hope that you're right. So look, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to give a like on the way out. If the video after the live gets to 100 after the live, if at any point this video gets to 100 likes, I will give away a shirt. So I'll give away 2 shirts. So at the moment we're on 58. If this video gets 100 likes even after we are not live anymore, I'll give away 2 shirts as well. So look, guys, thank you so much for watching the channel. You guys are legends of the chat. Thank you so much. Look, I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I will see you amazing people tonight to discuss the Champions League draw. Take care.